Hi Craig, here's what I believe to be the final product for your MLS for the complete 1004 MC. Um, as you can see, it looks pretty much the same. There's a couple columns that I've hidden up here. You'll look through and see that there's like H missing and a couple others. I just hid them for um, so they didn't take up screen space. It's a little bit easier to get over here to the graphs over here. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to import some information from your MLS. Uh, if you just go to search, I guess this is the simple search, right? If we go general search, and I may be doing this wrong. I should probably ask you, see if there's a better way of doing this. But I've always just selected from active all the way down through expired. Um, we don't need leased properties or lease option properties or rented properties, and we don't need photos required. Um, so I just look for all of that, and then what I've been doing is I just go to entry date, and I go back to like January 1st of 2008. My spreadsheet is set up to look at anything just 4 years back. Anything beyond that, it's just going to ignore, so it really doesn't matter if you go over 4 years back. Um, so as long as it's prior to today is the 28th of June, so um, I'd say that's pretty safe. You could even do like 6-1, and it'd probably come out as the same information on the spreadsheet. Um, so it looks like, let's see here, we need to go over to search some place on the map. I've been just going down into this peninsula here, and let's just get this neighborhood. Looks like a pretty dense neighborhood. Draw a circle, just like half mile. We're going to get 600 results. Go to the results page. And then here I've set up the complete 1004 MC export. And this is all the information that's needed. We're going to export the data, comma delimited, all records, next. We don't want to compress it into a zip file. Current grid format, we were on the complete 1004 MC grid, so next. And then on mine, it pops up this thing down here saying, do you want to save this? Now, when your MLS exports, it wants to export into a text format, a TXT. When importing into Excel, Excel won't recognize the text as a delimited file. It'll just import each line as text. So what we need to do is we need to save it as. I'll pop this thing up and just put in CSV. It's a comma separated value format which Excel recognizes. And then I'm just going to save it to the desktop. Save, and as you can see, listings, that file CSV is download has been completed. So we save that to the desktop. Go back to the complete 1004 MC, and we're going to import data. We're going to download from desktop, go down to here, and my spreadsheet's set up so that it'll only recognize CSVs. So we want to open that one. It'll open it for a brief moment, import all the data into where it's supposed to be, and we're done. Now we want to sort the data so that all the actives are at the top here, and then we've got expireds and so on. And if we look over to the right here, we've got all the graphs. Like I said, I had to take out the land analysis because I think one of these columns is still the land column. Nope, that's not it. FGH. Oh yes, it is. Even when I limited it to square footage, I would still get a lot of zeros. And if I put a range, put a minimum square foot on there, it would cut out probably 50%. However many of these don't have anything in there, it would cut all those out, and then your statistics aren't valid anyway because you aren't using all the data that's available. So I just left everything in there so that we'd have all the data, and then just took out the land analysis. And if you're looking at let's go back here to the criteria. If you're looking at an area like this, you're not going to come up with a property that has 2 acres anyways. They're all going to have fairly the same acreage. I'd just say be careful. Make sure you know that the land is still a variable. Make sure, this looks like a club of some sort of, maybe that's a golf club. If there are larger properties in there, you may want to deselect that or just not select that area to keep that from bringing in some outliers. So if we go over here, I'm just going to kind of run through a quick analysis. It looks like we've got 2 separate markets here, one between 1970 and 1980, and one down right at 1960. So, say we want anything below 1965 cut out, we can do that. So we've only got this and anything above 1985. These graphs right here are just 1 year back, and what you need to think about is we still have 4 years worth of data over here. So even if the graphs aren't showing something above a certain line, there still may be data in the prior years above that data or above that range. So putting something into each of these ranges on a regular basis is probably a good practice. So let's say we want to do between 1,000 square feet and 2,000 square feet. We can go over to the calculations, and we'll have all of our 1004MC information here. The first page, the top of the second page. I've added this function here for your MLS for the concessions analysis. Like I said in my emails, our agents don't report concessions, which is a point of contention, but they just don't. So I didn't have any reason for putting it in mine. But it looks like, the first 6 months, 12% of sales had concessions, and of those that had concessions, they were giving concessions at about 2.3% of the sales price. So it looks like it went from 2.3, then half of all the sales gave concessions, so up to 3%, and then 11% of sales had concessions, up to 3.6, or on an average of 3.6%. So it looks like it was going up while it was probably fairly stable. And we can look over here. Well, there are only 2 sales in the middle category, so one of the sales had concessions at 3%. So you'll learn how to analyze that and look at that data and come up with your own conclusions based on what's said here. Everything else is the same, and it sounds like you've watched the videos. So we'll move on. We've got graphs. I've added a concessions graph here. These are all the concessions, what percentage they were. And then all of these are all the properties that sold without concessions. And then everything else is pretty much the same. It's very similar to the other spreadsheet. I didn't have to change anything here. Looks like this neighborhood has been declining. There were a few neighborhoods that I was looking at in your area that looked like they had definitely stabilized. This is the year over year. I don't really look at this too much. One of the appraisers in my area that uses this spreadsheet wanted this, so I included it, but I don't like how the graphs die off on either side, depending on what quarter you're in. I don't think it looks good to the reader. This is the listings function page. I'll probably hide this. There's nothing that you need to see on this page. It's more of a function page. Creates functionality for different other functions in the spreadsheet. And then here's the adjustments page where you can go back to the data page and say this is comp 4, 5. Oops, those are on blue. Those won't work. If these are blue, if they're deselected basically by this criteria, and you put numbers next to them, they won't show up on the last page. And if you have 2 4s, they'll turn blue as well. So there's 5. Okay. Oh, solds. Say 1, 2, and 3. Then we can go back to the adjustments, and we have all those comparables right there. And it looks like, let's say there's a 5%, oops, 0.05. There we go. So there's a 5% decline. Those are the adjustments that you'd apply to your grid in your appraisal. I think that about sums it up. I don't think that there's I got an incoming phone call. I think that's about it. If you had any questions, let me know. Thanks.